Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Discriminating Gamer. You know, my wife recently told me that I was just of average intelligence. That's just mean. Ladies and gentlemen, today we're going to go ahead and take a look at Voidfall from Mindclash Games.
Ancient Greek mythology to Roman lore as well. There's a creature kind of creepy, but he's got some sex appeal. He stands at 9'7", and you'll never hear him talk. He's only got one eye, but he really likes to rock. They say he from the village, and so what if he did? Now makes a judgment about the Cyclops kid. He's got a tiny temper and an itty bitty fuse. If you're the one who lit it, then you're probably gonna lose. Mysterious and mighty with a really killer mind. Lives in other people, making weapons for the game. They say he ain't a baby, so what if he did? Now makes a judgment about the Cyclops kid.
We'll get back to the review in just a moment. I want to take a minute to ask you to check out my other channel, that is Cody Carlson, PhD, where we talk about history, books on history, military history. I even post some of my lectures for my classes on there. Please check that out. Please subscribe to that channel. And now, back to the review.
In Voidfall, 1 to 4 players take on the roles of various great houses in a galactic struggle against each other, or maybe also, against some evil alien force called the Void, which is spreading corruption and ickiness throughout the galaxy. Now, ladies and gentlemen, this is an incredibly complex game. There is a lot going on here. If you want a full rules breakdown, I highly suggest you check out one of the how to play videos. For myself, I'm just going to talk about some of the basics of gameplay, and then I'm going to tell you what I think. Now, ladies and gentlemen, Voidfall can be played in several different game modes. You can play it as a competitive game, a cooperative game, or as a solo game. Let's go ahead and just discuss the basics of gameplay that is necessary for all modes, and then maybe talk a little bit about the differences. Now, the game comes with various manuals. It's going to come with rule books, compendiums, glossaries. You're going to have scenarios in there. You're going to select which scenario you want to play. Then you're going to go ahead and actually set up your kind of galactic framework here, your galactic board. You have a number of hex tiles that you're going to place out there, and these hex tiles are going to have various information on them. They're going to have slots for guilds that will pop up. These are places that will generate resources. You're also going to have places for installations, including defense installations and starship construction yards. You're also going to have a place to put a die. Now, this die is not something you roll. In fact, there's no die rolling in this game, although this game comes with a ton of die. You use the die to track the population of the various systems. So depending on how many pips are showing, that's kind of the level of the system, and it's also going to be important for the resources that you generate there. Now, as you're setting up, many of these systems that you're not based on will have corruption. These are little kind of orange baskets. You're going to place the die inside those and put them on the system. This shows that the system has been corrupted, which will be very important for various game effects. Players are also going to take kind of a resource wheel, which has 2 dials along the side, more on that later, and you are also going to select your focus cards, and these are the action cards you're going to play during the rounds. Now, off to the side, you're going to have a galactic board, which will have various technology cards, which are locked during the first phase. The game plays over 3 phases. They're going to be locked during the first phase. But this galaxy board will also kind of show, I think it's A, B, and C, kind of the progression of how you're going to take your actions and things are going to happen. You're going to have kind of phase cards. You're going to have phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. You're going to place the phase 1 there. And then the phase 1, among other things, will tell you the number of rounds you're going to get to go during your turn, during everybody's turn, how many turns they have. You're also going to have your individual player board. You will have kind of your power cubes, which will slide back and forth between kind of ready and exhausted. You're going to have a starting agenda card. It kind of has the setup for your home world and an adjacent system as well. You're going to slide that under part of your game board to be kind of agendas, ways you're going to score. You're also going to have 3 tracks that kind of are your civilization tracks in which you're going to grow. And as you move forward, you're going to gain various goodies and abilities on those tracks as well. You're also going to have a spot off to the side for kind of your glory tokens, which you will get, and various other tokens that you will receive during the game as well. Now, depending on what technologies are in play in the game, you're also going to set up a kind of a combat board, and these combat board are like little popsicle sticks. You're going to place the top one out and then fit in these little popsicle sticks, and they're going to show the order in which things play out with certain technologies during combat. More on that later. Next, players are going to go ahead and grab an influence dial. These are a little board with 3 little dials on it. Essentially, these are your victory points. Depending on player setup, you're also going to set corvettes out on the board. Corvettes are like your most basic ship. There's a spot for 3 power cubes in there. Essentially, what you do is each power cube represents 1 corvette. And at any time, if you have, say, 3 power, 1 corvette, you could break that up to create a new one by taking one and putting on the other. You can always kind of go back and merge fleets or take them apart depending on what you want to do. Now, again, there's a lot going on here. So in a nutshell, what you're going to do is on your turn, you are going to select one of your focus cards. You can play your focus card, and essentially, again, all things being equal, there's 3 actions on there. You can do 2 of the 3 actions. So you can pick whichever 2 of the 3 actions you want to do, but you have to pay the cost for those actions. You're going to have to pay those costs in resources. On your resource board, you have dials, which again represent your food, your energy, your materials, your money, your science. Now, you can substitute any of the first 3 for money. Anytime you have to pay one of those, you can always pay money. With science, of course, you just need the science. But what you're going to do over the course of the game is as you place down these guild tokens on the various spaces, you can increase the level of those, that kind of your production. But the level of production doesn't necessarily mean how much you're going to produce, because as you move the dial one way, you've got a window which shows how much you will produce. So you can increase the level of your production, and that tells you how much you will produce. And then when you play a production action, you can actually produce that many. So that on the right side, which are your stockpiles of that resource, which is where you pay from. Now, again, there's a ton of different actions here. I'm just going to talk about a few. Some of the things you can do is you can actually invade another sector. You can go ahead and move any of your ships into one sector to essentially attack it. Now, this is where combat comes into play. Combat here is deterministic, but it's going to vary a lot depending upon your technology. Essentially, as soon as you enter into an enemy system, there is the approach. Now, during the approach, if that system has any of the defense grid tokens, they fire first. For every defense grid token they have, essentially, the attacker is going to lose 1 power from their fleet automatically. Next, you're going to look and see which ships and weapons you have, any tech you have to see who fires first. You can completely destroy the enemy before they get a shot off, or vice versa. But you're going to go ahead then and look and see exactly how that's going to play out. Because it is deterministic, and because you do know which technologies you already have, you can see whether or not you're going to win a battle before you engage in it. Not only does this make this very deterministic, it also makes it kind of Euro. Some actions allow you, as I say, to produce resources. Some of them allow you to move up on the board. You can actually move your civilization tracks up. This is going to score you all sorts of new goodies. Some let you get rid of corruption. You may have corruption not only on your system, but your corruption board may become corrupt. Some of your agendas may become corrupt. Some of your civilization trackers may become corrupt, and if they go up, you don't get any bonus for them. So there's all sorts of places those tokens can go, and that can be kind of a scary thing. Also, too, some of the things that you can put out there or play are these power tokens. Some of the times, if they're exhausted, you can slide them back to ready. Sometimes you have to pay stuff, removing them from the board back to your ready station in order to be able to play that specific action. Now, you have technology actions. You have basic technologies, which are always available to you. After phase 2, you can go ahead and buy some of the more advanced ones. Every player at the beginning of the game gets like one specialized advanced 2, depending on their house. You can purchase that one and put it in one of your slots. So you can gain more tech, as I say, to make combat a lot easier for you, but there's a lot of tech that does a lot of other things in the game as well. Some actions may allow you to place more installations, again, the defense grids or the shipyards. Some will allow you to put more guilds on the board. These, again, are the items that are going to give you resources. Some things may allow you to increase the population of a planet. Some things may, again, allow you to take corruption off of a planet. You may be able to draw agenda cards. Essentially, you can draw a new agenda card from the deck. You cannot immediately place it under your thing for scoring purposes. That takes another action to actually be able to place your scoring card in place, hopefully to be able to score it at the end of your turn. So there's many, 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 many different actions among the many cards you have that you can play. And again, all things being equal, you can play 2 of those actions per card, provided you can pay for them. After you've gone through and everybody's played all of their actions, depending on the number that's on your phase card, there may be certain ways to score there. You're going to go to the third part of the round. Again, some more things are going to happen, more ways to score. You may have enemy fleets attacking you. There's all sorts of funky things that's going to happen at that part of the game, and then you're going to go to the next phase. Once you get to the end phase, again, you reset everything, you put out a new phase card, and that's going to tell you again how many actions you're going to get in the action round, but you're going to go through and fulfill all those things as well. Now, in a competitive game, essentially you're fighting with each other. Who's ever going to get the most points at the end of the game? You're going to get points for a lot of different things here. In combat, you got those glory tokens. You can take them. You can never have more than 4 glory tokens, though, so you might have to swap some out. But at the end of the game, who's ever got the most points, essentially, is going to win. However, as I say, you can play this game in solo and cooperative mode. In that case, you got a whole other board you're going to put on the table, and that is the crisis board. You're going to have crisis cards come out. You're going to reveal, you got a number of kind of cards you reveal. Okay, which deck do I take from the 1, 2, or 3? You're going to put these things out, and if you don't solve them every round, if you don't complete them every round, they go on the board and they give you kind of persistent problems that you have to deal with until you can finally take those crisis cards out. Now, in the cooperative and the solo game, the game itself, the Void, are actually scoring points based on certain factors on the board. Now, if at the end of the game, if a single player or multiple players have more points than the Void, then they win. Otherwise, the Void win. Voidfall. Okay, wow. Golly, I don't know if any of that made sense. There is so much going on in this game, and I didn't touch a tenth of it. Really, if you want to learn how to play this game, this is not the video to watch, because there's some really great videos out there. I had to watch a couple of videos to help me get familiar with the game myself. As I say, you can play this game in cooperative, competitive, or solo. Now, I played this game cooperatively and competitively. Ray has too. He's also played the game solo, I believe. And so some of these comments, I'll give you some of Ray's feedback here as well. So this game is huge, it is big, it is massive in terms of, well, complexity. It's a complex game. There is a lot of complexity here. Now, you look at this game, and it looks kind of like an Eclipse or a Twilight Imperium. I really don't think those reasons are apt, and I'll kind of get into my reasons for saying that later. But among other things, frankly, those games are a lot easier, I think, to grok. There's a lot going on in TI4, but I never felt like TI4 was overly complicated because it seemed like every system just was fairly easy to get a hold of. Here in this game, though, it's really difficult to learn in your first game. And one of the big reasons why is something I like to call
iconography overload.
This game has a 4-page sheet just of iconography, and it's 4 pages of it, and it makes your head hurt. And I've heard it described as it's a language. You really kind of have to learn the language of the game. And I will say, as you familiarize yourself more with the game, you start to think in the symbols. Okay, this is this, this is this. But you still frequently will need to refer, well, I don't remember what that is, and you'll have to pull it back. So this is a game, I'll tell you right now, I don't think you will be able to enjoy it until you learn that language, and it's going to take you at least a game to learn the language. So I don't think you can just play one game and feel comfortable with all of that. And again, that's just learning the language of the game. The game itself is very interesting and provides a lot of choices. Now, I'll be blunt. This is a Euro game. It is a heavyweight Euro game. And this is another reason why I would say it's different from an Eclipse or a TI4, because while Eclipse kind of straddles the line between Euro and Ameritrash, I mean, it's a very much an economic game, but it does have direct dice combat. And certainly TI4 has Euro elements, but it is, I think, an Ameritrash game. This one is just pure Euro. You do have combat. Okay, I'll give you that. You do have combat. But it's not dice combat. It's not chance combat. The combat, like I say, you can look at the board and figure out the combat in your head. If you see my tech, you see their tech, you know what the Void's doing, you know exactly how the battle's going to play out. So you know whether or not to go after that before you even make the attempt, which is not something you're going to get from an Ameritrash game. But the game has a lot of really interesting systems and some really good choices, because every round you are selecting you're selecting these cards, and it's timing. When's the optimal time to play this? The first game we were playing the like production cards right off the bat before we had really built up our infrastructure, which was the completely wrong thing to do. But you want to know when to make those attacks. When do you want to fortify them? And again, it's not just a question of, well, I can take that now, but then there's always that question of, can I hold it, right? And so that's pretty interesting there as well. It has a very different feel on a lot of levels between the competitive and the cooperative, and I guess any game would really, um, because you've got those crises that are coming out during the cooperative game, and you're trying to put those fires out even as you're trying to accomplish various other things around the board. And it does add another level of choices, which I appreciated. But man, it's tough. It's really tough. Component wise, I really like it. I think it's a beautiful looking game. Although I will say, all the tiles to me, I don't know, they look like jack o' lanterns. I think this is a Halloween game because it looks like you're looking at a bunch of jack o' lanterns out there. But really, it's good. I like the baskets. I think they're pretty cool. The corruption and how you place them around the board and on your own player boards. I think that's pretty cool how you can move those around and the whole game, when you really appreciate it, is quite elegant on a lot of levels. There's a lot of real nuance here, and there's a lot of real, more than tough choices, but interesting choices throughout the game. And really, it puts interesting limits on you with the resources you've got, but at the same time, you've got some just absolutely remarkable moments in this game, and really fun. And even though you know what the tension is going to be like in those uh, combats, even though you know how the combat is going to play out, it's still interesting and it's still fun to figure it out. Now, I've got to tell you, I'm not a fan, generally speaking, of deterministic combat. It's just not my bag. But here, I don't know what it is. I really did enjoy the combat. I mean, sometimes I like deterministic combat. I thought Fighters of the Pacific did deterministic combat really good. But other than that, I just generally don't like it. Here, I liked it. I thought it was fun and interesting. And maybe it was because you got to see the tech you work for in action. And there was something satisfying and rewarding in that, which I enjoyed quite a bit. Okay, so I can go on and on and on and on and on about Voidfall. There's a lot of stuff I like here, and there's a lot of stuff that just, it's intimidating. And don't get me started, too, about anytime you want to play this game, you can count on the better part of an hour setting it up and another better part of an hour taking it down. There's a lot of setup and a lot of takedown here. And that's a bit of a turnoff for me when there's that much. I got to really like a game in order to get into that. Now, Ray said something really interesting to me here. He says he's played TI4. He says he's got Eclipse. That scratches that itch that this game would do. But the only thing this game does different, and the reason why Ray really liked this game, is because it's got the solo and cooperative modes. And I can take his point. I don't know that there's any game out there like this that you can play cooperatively, right? There's just the competitive games. Eclipse, TI4. I think I've got Exodus on my shelf over here, and I've never played it. I gotta play it sometime. So Ray likes this game a lot more than I did. I like the game. I think it's a good game, but honestly, I don't know if it's worth it for me with the setup and the takedown. And frankly, I'm gonna have to relearn this game every time I play it to some extent, and relearn the iconography. And I'm kind of dreading that. So I talked it over with Ray, and Ray likes it a lot. And the good people at Mindclash sent me a copy. I had seen this was on a lot of people's top of 2023, and I reached out to them, and they sent me a copy. And I think what I'm going to do is, because Ray likes this one so much more than I do, I'm going to give him this copy. I'm going to let him have this copy. That way, if I ever want to play it, I can go over to his place and play it. But I don't know that I need it in my collection, because that idea of the cooperative game on this level, while it holds some appeal, I just don't know that if it's worth it for me to hang on to it. Now, having said all this, all these factors, it's a good game. There's no doubt this is a good game. Maybe even a great game. I just don't know that I'm going to invest enough time in it to really find out if it is truly great, because of the reasons I've mentioned. This is one of the biggest learning curve games I have played in years. It is massive learning curve, and I kind of don't know that I really want to go through that again anytime soon. Recommendation for the discriminating gamers: try it before you buy it. Again, it's a good game, but there's a lot of baggage here. Thank you once again for joining us today on The Discriminating Gamer. As always, we ask you to please leave a comment for us here on YouTube, on Board Game Geek, on our Facebook page, or on thediscriminatinggamer.com. We ask you to please like us on Facebook, subscribe to us on YouTube, and follow us on Twitter. I'd also ask you, ladies and gentlemen, to please check out my other channel, that is Cody Carlson, PhD, where we talk about military history, books on history, fun things like that. I even post some of my lectures from some of my classes on that channel. Please check that out and subscribe. It would mean a lot to me. Please also give us a thumb on Board Game Geek for this video. And if you really do appreciate what we do in this channel, I'd ask you to humbly go ahead and click on the Super Thanks button and leave a tip. You know, for a while, Houdini used a trapdoor in all of his acts. It was a stage he was going through.
He fought Kronos, the mighty titan, in all battle most exciting. Made a trident for Poseidon, and out makes his bolts of lightning.
2, 1.
Sorry, you're too damn familiar.
I know. Well, we've already got the bloopers for this one.
All right,
Still rolling. 2, 1.
let's just go over this one.